Hello, everybody, and welcome to Alternative Interactions. I'm Gary. Thank you very much for the support, the like, the shares that I get. I really do appreciate it. You guys are stars, so thank you very much. Now, today I'm going to talk about, not going too deeply, just this is an overview about the divine feminine and how in history the divine feminine has been wiped off or wiped out of the historical record. So what do I mean by that? Well, we did a show a couple of days ago, rocking Pandora's Box 21, and we were talking about this very briefly, where we were going through the word Hu, and which means God or appointed one, and it's a chant that's done to bring enlightenment and peace and such like. But Hu actually came from the Egyptian, which was the Egyptian guy called Atum, Atum, Atum. And it was the process of a male act that then created a family of nine eventually. But it was a creational event. And nowhere in any of the texts does it mention or talk about the female, the divine feminine. And that kind of got me thinking a bit. So I've been muttering this one for a day or so. And when we look at the historical um, references which really go to women, they're either termed as witches or hags or eccentric beings. It's the mad cat lady type thing, um, which none of you are, obviously. Um, but we also get the persecution of the female throughout history. And obviously, the Roman Catholic Church and nunneries. I mean, nunneries were created, and they're not good things at all. Nunneries were really female open prisons, or female prisons, in fact, where wealthy landowners or women of substance that had been captured by the Roman Catholic Church and their land stolen were incarcerated, and they had a pretty torrid time of it. It's only in later date where the nunneries were then used as, or the nuns were used as an educational kind of thing. But again, when we look into the modern aspects of that, with all the unmarked graves of many beings, it's quite clear that initial feminine energy had been usurped and changed into something that was really not good. Okay. And over time that sort of thing will happen. I mean, you think, you're talking about 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th century where the women were being persecuted and their lands taken off them and stolen. It would be no surprise that the church would be able to, I mean, the church is a cult. Let's be fair about this. The church would be able to select the right kind of, I don't even want to call them women really or females because fundamentally they're not, but it's the right kind of psychopath to be working and running and doing such things under the guise of doing God's work. But we have seen this throughout history, and certainly the Roman Catholic Church or religion generally has removed women from the Bible. Now I've heard, and I don't know if it's true. I've never really looked into it too particularly deeply, but I've heard. But there were several books, if not tens of books, that were written by or purely about the amazing things that the divine feminine did. And the canon, which is the church group or sort of committee, removed all these books. And even when we look at the stories of Yeshua, they denigrate or degrade Mary Magdalene as a lady of the night almost in some things, and it's not true, is it? It's a war. It's a war on the divine feminine. And when we look at when I go back to what I do, I look at the Fibonacci and all the sacred geometry that really is not sacred and it's really quite dark. When I start looking at all this stuff, the only energy I feel from this is masculine. So when I'm looking at the history of these things and I take a step back and I feel the energy and I feel where it's coming from, we're talking about a masculine energy fundamentally. And there is no balance in that energy at all. The energy is definitely not feminine, creational, or nurturing in any way, shape, or form. Now, when I'm looking at the Christ code and the crystalline code fundamentally has the same shape as the Fibonacci for all intents purposes, though it is different and it's very different. But when we're looking at this divine energy, the Christ energy, I get a sensation and see light, a balance. I don't, in fact, maybe it's even slightly more feminine than masculine, in fact, but it's balanced and it's a nice, clean, pure energy. And I feel that. I actually feel that energy. And so when we start to look at who wrote the historical books, who wrote the religious books, and the group of people that did so, and the way they treat their women, it's quite clear why we have this slant towards the masculine. And it's very clear from the energy that came in, the third party interloper that came in and took over this realm. You know, I mean, what when we this is one to think about. When we're talking about the demonic entities and energies, I can only think of probably one that is female, and that's Vatica. And she was the goddess of the underworld. I mean, obviously, there's a couple. There's a few more. Don't get me wrong. There are a few more, but Vatica is one because obviously the Vatican is named after Vatica, the goddess of the underworld. That's an interesting way to call. You know, that's rather interesting. So, but that's about the only divine feminine that you get in the in the Roman Catholic Church is the name that's after somebody who was god of the demonic entities or the underworld. So I mean that's an interesting one. But all the other gods, generally, I mean, even if we take Diana, the moon, half moon is it's a Diana moon, the goddess Diana. Diana is actually Janus and Diana mixed. So it's Ionis and Diana because it's the moon. So half the moon is masculine and half the moon is feminine, which is where we get the pansexual from. And that's where we get the Baal and the demonic entity of the moon worship, which is where Moses kicks in, which I did a video on that the other day. But so Diana isn't really a female entity. I mean, I'm not talking about Princess Diana or anyone named Diana. I'm purely talking about the mythological or the names given to energies that have come about because all these are is energies and a name, a label has been placed upon them. But Diana is although you think oh it's female, it's not. It's a male and female hermaphrodite. Hence why the energy I feel of Janus is male and male and male and female. There's no true feminine divinity within Janus at all. And if anything, the feminine has been abused by Janus. There's a story. I know it's a tangent, I know, but we're talking about divine feminine, and we've got to understand what a bad deal you got. Um, Janus enslaved a female deity by a heinous act and placed her as the goddess of hinges. But she didn't do it by herself. She was defiled, she was abused, and she was put in servitude to be the hinge of the door that he was. And so when we start looking at all of these energies, yes, there's one or two female ones, obviously, but some of the females have been really changed over, like Medusa. I mean, we did a show a few weeks back on Rocking Pandora's Box about Medusa, and she was a beautiful, amazing lady who was drugged and forced into a male practice system which was meant to kill her. It was a sacrifice and it didn't work. And because it didn't work and the priests lost face in this, they then demonized her and created stories that were not true about her. And Medusa is just one very easy example for me to pull from, but a very clear one. The war on the divine feminine has been going on for a very, very long time. I've shown a picture when I'm talking about Janus of Janus and the Grim Reaper as Kronos, which is Janus as well, with the angels, with the little lovely cherubs who really are not lovely and are really not nice. And if I ever got to see a cherub, I think I'd run like hell because they are definitely not beneficial or nice creatures. And in many pictures, the cherubs are seen to be holding the tools of the demonic. Okay, so let's get that one out of the way as well. Why not? Let's show a bit of teeth again. But it's true. But in this picture I'm talking about with Janice, and I've shown this picture on a couple of my Janice stuff, bits and pieces, and I've looked at it. Gaia is downtrodden on the floor because oh, well, there we go. Let's see if we can get some color again. Oh, this camera's doing my head in. Um, what we're seeing is Janice is downtrodden, is standing on, is overpowered Mother Gaia and taking control of the divine feminine. And that's just it's just shocking when you start really looking into this sort of stuff and really going into it. So the majority of the demonic entities are all male. They're not female, but we also have the saviors are all male, very rarely female. And yet when we start looking into it correctly and properly with open eyes, we see that often the savior was also the creator of the problem reaction solution. And this plays out to this day. But the divine feminine has been attacked for thousands and thousands of years. And what's really brilliant and amazing that's coming online now It's the fact that the divine feminine is now coming back into their power. And the divine feminine, Mother Gaia, Sophia, the higher self of Mother Gaia, is back online and is taking back their power. But they're not doing it in a way that attacks the divine masculine. And that's key. Very important. They're not doing it to attack the masculine in any way because they know that it's a partnership. And to get out of this realm, there must be unity and clarity. And so they are facilitating or helping to facilitate the exodus that will be happening out of this realm. And all that will leave is that horrible old divine, or not even divine, that horrible masculine third party Fibonacci sequence Metatronic Merkaba, sorry, energy. And that is very interesting and very clear. The 3D is the masculine takeover, and the 5D is Gaia set free, the crystalline code. And so we are seeing this now. We're seeing that change. But the war on the divine feminine continues because the dumb elites are still in control to an extent where they control the media currently and other things. And that's about to change. We see the debordment, the takedown of society when our leaders pass laws allowing the destruction of a child up until and including birth. That has just been passed in the UK. That, in my opinion, is an attack on the divine feminine and the ability for those to hold and bring in new souls into this realm. Just as that was. The 10 dart finish. Well over 30% of women who have had the 10 dart finish are now struggling to conceive. And that does not include how the 10 dart finish has affected the male as well. This is an attack. This is one of their last attacks that they can do. Their brainwashing of the many years, the hundreds of years of the brainwashing of the pharmaceutical to try and entrap the last remnants of the divine feminine into the 3D so they at least have something to feed on during the next resets. This has been a war of the soul and the mind, but predominantly a war of the divine feminine and against it from this dark entity. And Mother Gaia is back and they've lost. And so all we're going to see now is the last thrashings of the spiteful vindictiveness, which is all they have left. Because I'll let you into a little secret. The only reason why you would suppress something like the divine feminine is because you are scared of it. You fear it because it's more powerful than you. So the whispering campaign that happened to create over hundreds and thousands of years to create these situations was very cleverly done. But that whisper campaign came out of fear and weakness. Because whenever we get a whispering campaign against us, it's only ever from the fearful and weak. And we are far better than that. There we go. So I hope that gave you some thoughts and something to think about of the importance of the divine feminine and just how important you are. I mean, a little statistic. This is true on Richard's channel. It's certainly true on my channel, and I've spoken to others about this. When we talk about the Great Awakening and the awakening of what's going on, okay, you would assume, I mean, when you just look at it, just glance at it, a lot of the content providers are male, like myself. Okay, Richard's, obviously male, and there's a good percentage of men who are truthers and are speaking their truth on YouTube and other platforms. Okay, now proportionately, that is completely misrepresentative of the actual what's going on, what is really going on, because approximately 90% of all the awake people are female, and only 10% are men. 90 to 10. So on my channel, literally, I mean, it goes from about 88% to 90% at times, but in round figures, 90% of this channel is the beautiful divine feminine. Because you, the beautiful femi, beautiful ladies out there, are the ones that woke up first. And that's not by accident. That's not a surprise. You came online when Gaia came online. And there's a synchronicity about that. A positive, big synchronicity. And why is there potentially 90% of the male population asleep or not actively looking at this kind of stuff? Because the divine masculine understands how to entrap the masculine, or the demonic masculine, I should say, really knows how to trap the masculine. But the demonic masculine can never truly entrap the divine feminine because it isn't, and it doesn't really truly understand or get the true power and creational energy of the divine feminine. Now, I hope more men wake up, and hope more men get it and start standing up and growing some minerals. Okay, the things that hang between your legs, boys. About time, because it's shocking, and it is shocking that so few men are really awake and get it. But I guess the bread and circus is more important than what's really going on and reconnecting to your heart and your soul and your higher self and becoming the true masculine that you should be and working on it. Just like the beautiful Femi have already done so and are doing so. Beautiful ladies of the family. But where ladies lead, men will follow. And they will. But that's a very interesting fact, that one. I just thought that'd be in an interesting, you know. So what we see is completely skewered, really, in reality. Because when we start to look at the numbers and we break it down, we can really see what's going on. So, with that, love, light, and blessings. Please like, share, and subscribe. Really do appreciate your support, everybody. Love and light, beautiful ladies, and the lovely Femi. And boys, sort your shit out. Bye, everyone.